All right, let's go ahead and get started. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Streamlining Analytics with Alteryx self-service capabilities. Our agenda today, we're going to go through a brief introduction. Then we're going to talk about the challenges that ad hoc reporting places on our organizations. We're going to talk about self-service as a solution, and then I'm going to share some implementation best practices and tips from my own experiences going through implementing self-service. And then we'll round out our time together with a Q&A session. Please note that your chat feature has been disabled. You can use the Q&A features within Zoom to share any questions with me or comments, and I will be monitoring that as we go through. So a little bit about me. I am with Data Meaning's Enablement and Training team. I have been with Data Meaning since late February of this year. I specialize in training and development of workflows for clients, making enhancements. You can see that I have a number of certifications, and I've worked with Alteryx for a little over 8 years now. I am very experienced in the healthcare domain as well as finance. And you can see just some pictures from my daily life in here. I always hate just including the boring headshot. I am an avid adventure enthusiast. I do rock crawling with my Jeep. We do a lot of hiking and outdoors. You can see pictures of my family at the bottom. And the cutest picture on the right-hand corner there are my 2 youngest puppies. I have 4 dogs total, and they just celebrated their 1-year birthday. Data Meaning. Data Meaning is a boutique business intelligence consulting firm. The mission is to drive world economic growth by enabling businesses to extract quantum value from one of the world's most valuable commodities, data. We deliver that end-to-end business intelligence expertise, or can work with whatever system you already have in place. And you can see on this slide some of our partners. So let's talk a little bit about the ad hoc reporting challenges that we all face. One of my favorite quotes actually comes from Andrew Lang. He was a Scottish novelist. And in multiple publications in 1937, he was quoted that he uses statistics as a drunken man uses lampposts, for support rather than illumination. And that's what we find most often with the use of ad hoc reports. That style of report is often an on-demand generated report for a specific reason. Often they're used for firefighting. People are submitting requests because they know something's wrong and they need the data to validate it. You can also get the ad hoc requests from questions from decision makers, analysts, and even stakeholders. Now, ad hoc reports are not necessarily all that bad. There are some positive impacts. They allow for flexibility and responsiveness. As I said, ad hoc reports are often when you need something quickly, you have an unexpected question, or you notice something that's looking a little off. Ad hoc reporting tools empower non-technical users to access and analyze data independently. This does reduce the burden on the analytics team to generate routine reports for them. So it really helps kind of upskill your workforce. Ad hoc reports also help with learning and skill development within your analytics organization. They encourage team members to continuously develop their skill sets, look at new data sources, learn new tools, and adapt to the evolving business requirements. Now, we can't have the pros without the cons. And These cons will greatly impact your organization. First of all, ad hoc reporting leads to fragmentation of data and data inconsistencies. Excessive use of these ad hoc reports causes different teams to start looking at the data differently, which can result in inconsistent insights. Ad hoc reporting can become a resource strain. While it encourages user engagement because you have people within your business looking at data in new ways, you still have your analysts pulling that data, and it can just take up an enormous amount of time and resources. Ad hoc reports also tend to have a lack of governance. There's lack of proper security measures in place that can lead to data quality and compliance issues. You may generate this report for one specific reason, but that person may turn around and give the report to someone else. And they might not be looking at the report in the way that it was intended to be used. And lastly, ad hoc reporting causes a lack of data maturity. Consumer of ad hoc reports rely heavily on data analysts and data scientists, even for simple analysis. And when you have your data analysts creating pivot tables for the business on these reports, they start to become more resistant to the advanced analytics and analytic tools like dashboards. So let's talk about ad hoc reporting impacts by the numbers. 72%. According to a 2022 survey by ThoughtSpot, 72% of analytics teams say that ad hoc reporting consumes 50% of their time. 50% of their time. Think of all of the analytics that you could be doing, but 50% of their time is on ad hoc reporting. And then the other number, 78%. 78% of analytic teams say that ad hoc reporting requests prevent them from working on more strategic initiatives. This was according to another survey done in 2022, but this time by Forrester. Now, how does that translate into your analytics organization and your entire organization being data-driven? Well, by now we're all familiar with the analytic curve. It may look different depending on what presentation or what video you're looking at. But the analytic curve has one goal. The ultimate end goal is to be data-driven. So we have 4 stages along this analytic curve, and they're called the 4 stages of analytic maturity sometimes. The first stage is descriptive analytics, and this stage involves collecting and reporting the data to understand what happened. When you get to diagnostic analytics, you are trying to find out why something happened and identifying those root causes. Stage 3 is predictive analytics. Now we want to predict what's going to happen next. And then ultimately, the final stage is prescriptive analytics. And that stage involves using data to recommend actions that can be taken to improve outcomes in the future. According to a recent survey by New Vantage Partners, 60% of US companies are in the descriptive and diagnostic stages. So where 60% of the companies in the United States are still using analytics for firefighting. They're not actually using it to drive business decisions. The rest of it does move on to where eventually we do have 20% of US companies that have made it up to the prescriptive analytics. When you get to that point in your analytics journey, in your data journey as a company, you find that you are more profitable. And if you look at the top companies in the United States, you will understand that most of their business value is being arrived from business decisions driven by data. So what do we do about these ad hoc reports? The ad hoc reports that are keeping the organization down? Well, we look for a self-service solution. So let's first talk a little bit about what those benefits are for a self-service solution. The first benefit of self-service is democratization of the data. Self-service analytics makes data accessible for everyone in the organization, regardless of their technical skills. This allows everyone to make data-driven decisions, not just the select few. You have increased agility and efficiency. Self-service analytics allows business users to get the insights they need quickly without having to wait for help from an analytics organization or from IT. This can help your organization make better decisions faster and respond to changes in the market more quickly. Improved accuracy. Self-service analytics tools can help to improve accuracy of data analysis by automating such tasks, such as data cleanup and aggregation. This can help the business to avoid making decisions based on inaccurate data. And greater customization. Self-service analytic tools allow users to create custom reports that meet their specific needs. It helps the user get the most out of their data and to identify insights that would not be possible otherwise. And lastly, the reduced IT and analytics burden is worth a self-service solution in and of itself. Self-service analytic tools can help reduce the burden on these two organizations, freeing up the staff to focus on more strategic tasks. Self-service tools can also help reduce the cost of data and analytics by eliminating the need to hire more specialized analysts or data scientists. By empowering users to access and analyze data on their own, self-service can help organizations to make better decisions faster, improve efficiency, and reduce costs. So that brings me to Alteryx. Alteryx is a self-service analytics platform. The way they view self-service is on the designer front to allow anyone, regardless of their skill level, to be able to do analytics using their program. So I felt it was important to differentiate how they're viewing self-service versus the self-service that I'm talking about. Self-service that I'm talking about is using Alteryx to build applications that can be used by people in the business. Alteryx has a wide range of uses from multiple industries, from businesses to government agencies to educational institutions. Alteryx can help you with data preparation and cleaning, data blending and integration, visualization and analytics, predictive analytics and machine learning, and geospatial analysis. One of the great uses for Alteryx is their analytic apps. An analytic app is a workflow with a user interface created to allow the app user to execute a workflow by inputting their own parameters. It's not as hard as it sounds. You build a workflow, then you just add these interface tools and you design your interface using the interface designer. When accessed via the server, your end users see a user-friendly interface, as you can see on here with this claims fraud app that I have mocked up. The great thing is when you are deploying analytic apps to an Alteryx server, the end user doesn't need an Alteryx designer license to run. So it's not going to be an added cost to you to use your Alteryx and your Alteryx server to do self-service. The Alteryx server provides a centralized platform for managing your users and permissions, which makes it easier to enforce security policies. Also, if you are using integrated Windows authentication with your Alteryx server, you will have group type options where you can select Active Directory to add groups from your Active Directory. This is really a great way to manage your user base. But don't worry, if you're not using your Windows authentication on your server, you can still manage the users by creating groups or by adding the users to collections themselves. Two other great aspects of using server for this process is for collaboration when you're building your apps, your self-service applications, and also version control. Now, everybody is looking forward to the cloud, and Alteryx has introduced their app builder, which is part of the Analytics Cloud platform. It is a cloud native tool for easily creating self-service apps without any code. You start building the app on an orchestrate canvas, dragging in tools just like on a regular Alteryx canvas. Then you can customize further on an interactive design canvas by adding other elements or even adding a theme like your company branding that really helps drive users to use it when they see company branding that is similar to other applications they may be familiar with using on a regular basis. A run button can be added to trigger calculations or conditional rendering to build an easy multi-paged app. It also makes access to scale actionable business insights easy for users, with the applications being available on any device that has an internet browser. And that includes your cell phones and tablets. Currently, you can use CSV files or cloud data sets with this product. It is one of the newer Alteryx products, so it is going to be a continuous evolution as they're enhancing this product. So do keep it in mind if you're not ready for that one yet. They are continuously making enhancements, and it's just getting better and better with each iteration. Now, I'm sure everybody's sitting here wondering, okay, you told me Alteryx is a great solution, but how do I actually implement self-service? Well, the first thing is if you aren't tracking ad hoc requests, it is time to start. You can't move forward as an organization until you know the volume of work that all of your analysts are doing. Once you have that data available, you need to analyze it. Now, when I did my first project for implementing self-service, I actually analyzed 2 full years of data from our ticketing system. I recommend that you use at least 1 year of requests. And the reason why you would use at least 1 year is so if you have requests that come in seasonally for ad hoc reports, you can capture those in that data and be able to use it to formulate your self-service tools. After you analyze the data, you then need to categorize it. You need to understand what your internal stakeholders need. So we categorize the request by business area, request type, the data sources, and the requested fields for the output. And then after you create these categories, you want to make sure that you have a list of all of the data sources that are used, the tables, and all of the fields from those tables. Now, where do you start? Keep it simple. A lot of people, when they think about doing self-service, they think about boiling the ocean. They've got to have a program that can contain all the data sources, everything everyone might need, and they push it into production at one time. That's great if you're buying a product to do that. But when you're building something, start simple. Building this will save you money from having to hire a bunch of programmers to do this because you're using Alteryx, where you can just drop and drag. It saves you development time. So when we looked at our categorization of all of our requests, look at your most valuable requests. Look at what's going to give you the biggest value, the biggest bang for your buck. When I started out on this endeavor the first time, I had this massive list, but what I noticed was that we had a specific request that was being asked for on almost a daily basis from one area of the company or another. It was for just an itemization of claims. I was in healthcare and we needed an itemization of claims. Well, I noticed that this was being used so much that I went to the person who was doing all of those requests. And I was able to get a canned query from him to build the first app. So whenever possible, you want to try to leverage the canned queries from your trusted analysts. Another thing is to start simple and then make it more complex. For example, if you have multiple systems that contain information, such as a legacy system and a new system, try building a self-service app for each system. Then, in your second generation, give users the ability to choose which system they want to use in an app. And then for a third generation of the tool, you could actually take away that choice and just use the user inputs to determine which system you're pulling the data from. or combining the data from both systems. Some of the tips that I've learned through this experience. You can make copies of your apps to create versions for other departments and teams. So if you have a department that uses secure data, you can make a version of it just with that secure data. Or you may have multiple rules in place with your business, and you can copy your apps into multiple collections to be able to align those business goals or business restraints with your apps on Teams. Use things like the error tools and required fields to control user inputs, and build in constraints like date range requirements to prevent long-running queries. Trust me, IT will thank you when you're not locking up the database with a long-running query. Before you put it into production, have testers try to break it. Post your analytic app up onto the server in the gallery and allow coworkers in analytics and also business users to just give them the goal of trying to break it. That way, you know what you're going to experience if you were to put it into production in that current form. Once you put it into production, you need to train your business users and create job aids to address frequently asked questions. Running things on any server, you're going to encounter errors from time to time. Being able to capture those errors and tell the users what to do if they experience those errors is going to save you the headache of multiple interruptions to your other work when something happens or something goes wrong. And when something goes wrong, it's great for you to have a way to notify users of the upgrades and outages. Now, if you're using that Microsoft authentication and you have Active Directory groups that you've given access to these specific collections, you can utilize those for your notifications. If you don't have the Active Directory groups controlling the permissions and you're adding users manually to collections, keep a list of users somewhere so that you can easily draw from that list to send out those notifications. And don't forget to request feedback. Collect feedback from users to continuously improve your self-service tools. It can help identify areas for enhancement or areas where you might need to do some additional training or updates to your job aids. Enhancements. Don't forget about making enhancements. You're going to be getting requests from the business as they see that there may be additional fields that can be added. Schedule when you're going to do the enhancements, when you're going to release those. And third, make sure you iterate on your tools. Keep them fresh. As the Alteryx product releases new enhancements and new tools, go back and revisit your self-service tools. You can help optimize them. You can make them better. And even use the Alteryx release schedule for their new upgrades as part of your timeline for doing enhancements and iterations. So once you implement your self-service, what do you expect next? Well, data analysts will be eager to do analysis instead of these data dumps on these ad hoc reports they were doing. They're going to be free to do the more complex reports doing data analysis, or creating automations. Data-driven decisions will be made on the fly during meetings. This gets everyone excited. Management, from team leads to C-suite, can have access to these self-service tools that you create and deploy to the gallery. They will be able to make data-driven decisions during meetings. Previously, they might have had a question come up during the meeting about something, but then they'd have to put a pin in it. They'd have to send a request to Analytics for the data. Depending on how long the backlog is, it might be a month before they have data. I know some of the backlogs that I've worked with previously ranged from 5 days to 30 days. But rather than having those wait times, you can have data in minutes with a self-service app. Word of these self-service tools spreads like wildfire. Once you have one team buy into it and they're super excited about it, before you know, you're going to have other teams requesting access. So just be aware that that will come. It'll drive a lot of excitement. Just as exciting as the excitement you get from more users wanting access is the savings that you will see. I mentioned previously about having that backlog between 5 to 30 days of waiting and reducing that time to 4 minutes or less. That not only gives us the time savings of when they're waiting for data, but you have to think about the other savings that you're going to see. The resource savings from your analysts not spending hours a day writing queries for ad hoc reports. You'll see time savings from your resources as well. You're not going to have 50% of an analyst's time being taken up with these data dumps that they were pulling, with these ad hoc reports. And lastly, be prepared for more self-service requests. Once teams see the self-service capabilities of Alteryx, they will start bringing their own ideas for additional self-service tools that will make their lives easier. And ultimately, by making their lives easier, you're enhancing the data knowledge within your entire company. Now, one other thing that I want to mention that I didn't have on the slides was about the education necessary to make this culture change. Not only do you have to teach your user base how to use these Alteryx self-service tools, how to log into the gallery, how to run those, you may find yourself getting questions like, can you make this pivot table for me? Or can you filter this result for me? Be prepared to push back. When you push back and you provide them resources, such as the job aids from Microsoft's website on how to filter an Excel document or how to create a pivot table, you will raise their own analytics knowledge. And that will further your business into becoming one of those data-driven businesses that you're hoping to get to. And that was all I have for you today. Any questions from the group? Please utilize the question and answer in Zoom for me. While I'm waiting to see if any questions come through, I'll tell you a little bit about the impacts that I've experienced with this method. When you take the time to analyze your data, you can build about 80% of what everyone is looking for into your self-service tools using Alteryx. You're always going to have the need for more advanced reporting that may come in on an ad hoc basis. So you're not going to 100% eliminate all of those ad hoc reports, but eliminating 80% of them will help your entire organization rise to being that center of excellence that everyone dreams about having. I'm not seeing any questions come through. I'll give it just another, oh, here we go. All right, so I did get a question. What is the best practice when performing data wrangling with Alteryx? Wow, that is an excellent question. Thank you so much for that. So best practices when performing the data wrangling. One of the first things that you need to take a look at are your business definitions. So Alteryx is great for pulling in data from multiple disparate data sources. You want to make sure that you align your data definitions to your processes. So, for example, your date formats. When you're bringing in the multiple data sources for something like self-service, you want to make sure that you have everything formatted correctly. Your dates are in a proper format and aligned, that you have column names that the business would use. Don't use just the names that come from your database. Actually translate things so that your end users know what to do. Alteryx is great for data cleansing. So definitely make sure that you are using those data cleansing options. You also want to make sure that everything is in a proper format for your outputs. Another question here is, what is the golden rule when integrating data from multiple sources with Alteryx? Just do it. I'm not sure what the golden rule might be, but Alteryx is built to handle multiple sources, from your cloud data to your older databases that like DB2. Alteryx is able to handle all of them. The key, though, is make sure that you are standardizing your data across all of those platforms. Thank you so much for those questions. Any other questions? Well, while I'm giving it another moment, waiting for any other questions to come through, if you have any questions that you don't want to ask during this session, please feel free to reach out to us. You can reach out to info@datameaning.com or myself, sarah.roberts@datameaning.com. And that QR code that you see there is for my LinkedIn. Feel free to send me a request on LinkedIn, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. And if self-service is something that you are interested in implementing, do feel free to reach out and we can help you either be a partner to you, or I can just answer some general questions for you. I'm not seeing any other questions come through. So I hope everybody has a wonderful afternoon. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope you have a great day.